Well, I hope you're having a good day. You've had food, water, everything you need to do. Say hi, Penguin.
Heyo.
We are continuing Amalgamation. Last time we fought the Void Blossom. The next boss on our list is the Night Lich. Also, I did things with the stream. So I switched up the goal to something actually achievable. At 10 subs, I will do a joke update for Amalgamation and bring back all the horror mods. And also added in a community challenge. This is using your channel points. If 10,000 channel points are used in the next week, I will do a MCCI parkour stream, and I will take the hard route the entire time. And I have to complete it. Also, there's daily cranberries now. I figured out how to do the frickin' daily rewards, so come get your cranberries. Let me get my daily cranberries. Cranberries. There we go. Cranberries!
So you said 10,000 channel, or the points thing?
Yes, 10,000 channel points. Oh, I need to do go live post. That's kind of important. That kinda is. Perhaps, just a little bit. Just perhaps a little bit. At least I only have to do 2.
I'm trying to think, because I don't want to just, like, use it on something and... What is this? I need elaboration as to what it is.
What is what?
Kappa?
I have to go make a cup of tea. I currently have... Honestly, I wouldn't mind that. I currently have... I have red bean paste, aka Adzuki beans. They're a bit of an acquired taste, but I love them. And you can do milk teas with them. They're completely no caffeine. But this doesn't actually taste that good. So, yeah. Also, it shouldn't have taken me as long as it did. I figured out how to... I figured out, 1, how to get different text boxes for the chat. 2, actually the first thing was making it go top to bottom instead of bottom to top. So I had to figure out the custom CSS for that because it wasn't fucking working for me. Anyway, my grievances with that aside, then I found out, while searching for that, I found somebody who made a really cool text box, but they had a custom font, the Roboto, whatever it is, from Google. I'm like, I want my Pixelfy sans, because that's what I use for everything. And it took me way too long, but I figured out how to get the Pixelfy sans into the custom HTML, and I am so goddamn happy. It took me way too long. But chat works. Alright, what do I have that I can use at this point?
Go make a cup of tea now. Yeah.
I have a decaf chai, so thankfully I literally just heated up the water for that other thing, so I'm pretty sure I can literally just go pop this in a cup right now. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Mute.
Wait, damn it. Now I gotta keep stream entertained. I don't know. I won't stream. I think stream's just me right now. Who all's in stream? Okay, it literally is just me. I'm gonna just keep myself entertained and go watch TikTok.
I love that my VTuber's a dead giveaway when I get back. I return with my cup of chai, decaf chai.
Yippee.
My smells good. Let it steep for a little bit longer. Oh yeah, I added more channel point redeems as well. Of course, there's the daily cranberries.
So I might have did it wrong and wasted 5,000.
Oh!
Well, not
oh no.
wasted, but...
Well,
oops.
I added in stretch. The name generator, which is I just go name something in game, whatever the person wants. Time out somebody else. IRL word ban. I can't say a word for a given time. Sing mode. I have to sing everything I say for the next 5 minutes. Lose the glasses for 5 minutes. And pick my next game as well. Also, I clarified nah, the 20,000 nah, which is end stream, and nuh-uh, which cancels out anything.
Yeah.
Alright, now, with the cup out of the way and all the things I've done with stream out of way, let me turn down the live music a little bit so I can actually hear myself think. And we can get back into the world. Fake D&D. Gameplay. Is it on the right thing? No, it is not, because I was messing around with shit.
We're in
Sip
hold.
of the cuppa. Good sip. Good shit. Let me pause it while I take care of teabag. Huzzah! And then we invite the penguin. Done. Oh, we actually have 3. I thought we only had 2 of them. Okay.
Yeah, I found one.
The soul stars.
So we literally just need one. So we might be able to get 2 bosses out of the way today.
Yeah. What? My sensitivity. Yeah, turn that down. There you go. That's a lot better. Okay. I need to turn down my sensitivity because I think I have it way lower on Passion SMP. Oh yeah, that's a million times better. Okay. Oh, not that way. Which way did you probably came from this? Okay. Yeah. So something I realized we could do. We were talking the last time about making a base, yeah? I just realized we should probably be using the in-game. Okay. Gonna mute on the Discord. There you go. So I forgot about the in-game is kind of important. And let me find... Oh, I have levels to use! There you go. A level to use, apparently. That is not the right thing. What is it set to? I? Not those. I need to make a group. Yup. Yep. Well, let me sleep here. Yes. Oh, the date. We don't need a day counter. Hold on. Didn't I press the button for the day counter a second ago? Yes, I did. There we go. We don't need no day counter. I'd much rather show off the group thing. Hello, Billy Bob! Oh yeah, I also went through, for the Passion SMP people I know, I think I still need to add 1 or 2 more. Anybody who's in Passion SMP has been given VIP. We have already raised 3k. Also, Billy Bob, there is a new array of channel points that you can redeem as well. Also daily cranberries, so get your daily cranberry. I could still see the essential thing on the nameplate. So hold on. We're gonna get rid of that. Appearance. Essential icon on nameplate. No. Thank you. So yeah. And then, of course, chat looks different as well. But there is the community challenge, and then if we hit 10 subs, then there'll be a horror update. Oop. What is... Oh, it's low. Okay. No tippy types. Okay. I'll get started working on the secret thing then, because I want Penguin to be aware of that. I'm gonna warp stone out of here. I put the max amount on the parkour stream. Oh. Oh. Am I in a good spot? I don't know where I am. I'm still underground. We don't need Blossom. What is above ground? I don't have my waypoints up. It's not what my which ones are my waypoints? These are. I need to go to... Perhaps Dungeon would be a good one. Yeah, I think that's probably best. That's probably best. We're gonna go to... Or, Rarer. That'll do. And it's sunrise, so I'm not gonna be safe for long. Alright, I have a bunch of toast. And somebody's death is right there. It's not mine. Sweet berries. This is what I based the cranberry, like, little, picture, the little cranberry logo for the channel points off of, actually. Sweet berries and actual stem of cranberry. I took the colors mostly from sweet berries. Oh, it's a fox. What is this? And it doesn't hold that correctly. And it does. Oh, pillagers, not villagers, pillager. Bum, 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 bum. There we go. I'm overpowered and there's not a thing you can do. Thank you. Yeah, I don't need any of that for the moment. Those are both random villagers that we do not care about. Is that the dungeon from prior? Or is it a new thing? It's a completely different dungeon. Or a tower? Tower? Question? Tower! Oh hey, I actually know this one. I know this one from a cave horror project. Bonk. And it's only seeds. Hey, you dropped iron though. Thank you. Get up. Nope. Get me up. Get me up. Get me up. Thank you. Goodbye. Nope. Not allowed. Oh, I got a spirit. Oh, there's chest. There we go. It doesn't have anything useful. Of course it don't. Crept. Goodbye. Spawner. Spawner. There we go. Oh, hello, buddy. No. Goodbye. Oh, log. Right, hit a log. I forget all the time. That's why I have like 3 different planners. And somehow it still doesn't help. Probably because I forget to use them at times. Like, oh yeah, I need to remember that. Never writes it down. Getting better at writing down stuff, though. Hello, Penguin.
Yeah, that's why you had us start writing stuff down for you.
Somewhat, yes. You're not muted on Discord.
I realized.
Yeah. Last time we were talking about making a bait. As a player. For a sec, I seriously thought I saw Herobrine.
I found this really cool, thing. I don't know how to, like, foundation to a house, and I figured we could like, use it and rebuild it into, like, an actual good house, you know?
I was thinking, I recently put out a build that would actually fit really well with this. Not doing a high grade. Not doing the exact same thing, But I built a Skyrim player house recently, and that would actually work out as a perfect layout for us. Each side could be our rooms and storage, and then the back could be something? Question mark? Kitchen? I don't know. Probably kitchen, garden.
Do we have farmers?
Yeah, we don't have Farmer's Delight, we have Croptopia.
It's close enough.
Yeah. I could get a setup with Ratatouille. Ratatouille's a fully, Ratatouille, you don't need any animals, it's fully cropped and it's amazing food.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. And,
but I do want to show you, we could, I want to show you also the, thing I was talking about. And we could probably build over
Is it, up above or down below where you are right now?
Up on the surface.
Okay. Oh, we should probably get you a warp stone,
I can actually craft one.
Oh, good. Because then you can teleport the dungeon.
To do so.
Nice. And I was thinking...
That was the last thing I was missing.
Ooh. I was thinking... there's typically a basement in the Skyrim player houses. I was thinking we could replace the forge that is typically there for the XP farm we need. Set up some skellies.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Although it might be better to set up the base farther away then. Maybe closer to, the Lich. Because the XP here isn't good compared to what we could get out there. We need to find the area that we can't easily die, but we can still get good XP. Although that might be better, just make a XP farm in the Nether then.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, we were talking about building in the stronghold.
Wait, is this a stronghold?
There is a stronghold. We are not in or near the stronghold, I am to assume. Stronghold, 1,600 away. You want to venture out to the stronghold and base there? Actually, which direction is the Lich in? That I typed both Knight and Lich at the same time. Lich Tower. Opposite direction. 6,000 blocks! Oh no, it is the same direction. But it is 6,000 blocks away.
Okay, we could figure out, what is it? Like, I don't know, I want you to come see what, the thing I'm talking about.
Let me figure out. Okay, you're way over there. What is the closest thing out there to you? Probably that.
There is a waystone here, by the way.
I have not found it.
Oh, I just placed it here. I placed it here, like, earlier. Where's... oh.
I'm going a little too far that way.
There's a Dreadhound.
Yeah. Born in Chaos, I believe. Supposedly you can tame them? It never worked for me, though. Oh yeah, I know the structure. It's a dungeon as well.
Yeah. But I figured it'd be nice for us to, like, repurpose, like, this top part and turn it into a house. We could use this as, like, a storage center. And then build, like, the house, like, in front of it, you know?
I was thinking use it as a foundation, the basement, and build a house on top.
Yeah, well, originally that's what I was thinking, but you were talking about the Skyrim thing, so I was thinking maybe we could do the Skyrim thing in front of it. And use this as, like, a secondary house, you know?
It's almost the perfect size for the layout I use for the Skyrim house. The Skyrim house, the middle building is just one wider.
I forget I'm
So we could absolutely use this as a foundation below it.
Okay. If we want to do that, then yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Oh, we do have falling tree, so that's going to be fantastic.
Do you want me to start clearing out the woods around here?
Yes.
Or not like all of it, but you know what I mean.
How close do we want to get to? Why am I getting boss music? Oh, that's why.
Behind you.
Or not boss music. Fight music. That is why.
Is there a way to fix my stoutness?
Let me think for a sec. I think perhaps I'm just gonna scroll through. That's gonna be the fastest way. Staff live. You want a potion of femininity?
What does that do?
Change hairstyle. It changes your character to feminine. So it's probably, it gives boobs, I assume. And there's also a potion of masculinity.
I'm very curious. I'll make this.
It is a glass bottle, an egg, and pink dye.
Is it really?
Yes.
Okay, I think I have this.
Villager tracker, rose gold dust, rose gold ingot, divorce papers.
Okay, so do not have an egg. I have glass bottle. And I don't have paint dye. I'm 2/3 of the way there. Why is that? Might just be
traveling
the thing.
headstone. Scythe.
I know it's from like
The only thing I could think of maybe that could fix it would be the villager editor, but it doesn't say that it can.
Is it cheap?
Hold on, I saw the crafting recipe. Recipe? Nope, it does not have a crafting recipe. Okay, we're gonna cheat. I can't cheat. It's that version of Minecraft. I can't just turn on cheats. Fuck. Well,
I don't know. I feel like there's probably a way to do it.
I feel like it's probably gonna be with some sort of cheats, though. It doesn't seem like there is a way.
Yeah. Am I being hit?
Yeah, you're fine, though.
Oh, I was fully checked out trying to fix my keyboard.
Or does bones click-a-clackin'? Why do bones click-a-clacks? Click-a-clacks? Click-a-clacks! Baby skellies! Goodbye. Among Us? Oh, you. I was looking at the crafting recipe for civil registry. Okay. No, that's not what we need, though. You can get a needle and thread to change your clothing or a comb to change your hairstyle, but... Oh, there he is! Okay, I see the bad boys. You're way over here. Why is there just a group of you? Bye. There we go. Stay dead! Give me your souls! Give me your souls!
Give me your bones.
Give me your bones! Oh, of course I hear more already. More click-a-clacks. But we do have chips, so I have a lot more flexibility of what we can do for the build, too. Because the build design I did to make it look as similar to Skyrim as I could was with birch, sandstone, and dark prismarine as the roof. But we're just gonna do spruce. We're just doing spruce. There's a ridiculous amount here. We're just gonna do spruce. What? That's all. Big ol' hole down here. Is this a dig a hole? Why is there a dig a hole?
Wait, this hole?
Yeah.
Oh, this is from me.
Okay, yeah.
It's from when it was raining and I wasn't trying to die.
Oh. Let me look at the carpentry bench. Thank you. Oh yeah, we can do that. We can do that easy.
Really?
Boop. Now let's see if I remember how to do it correctly. Yeah, there we go. Carpentry bench. Oh, we do have, you can use wood in a stone cutter. Hold on, do I have a stone cutter? I know where a stone cutter is. Okay, good. Danke.
Oh
we get so much more wood out of it, it's not even funny. You get 6 planks per log instead of 4.
You're more efficiently cutting the wood, that makes sense.
And I'm gonna double check, I'm pretty sure I can, but... Yes, I can. Okay, good.
Can the boss music please stop off?
I'm thinking about this as the walls.
Okay, yeah, I like that. That's not bad.
And we're just gonna go off the cuff. Floors. We're doing my brick bond. It's my favorite for a reason.
Oh my god, where? Dude, I feel like I'm in a Cowardly the Dog episode every time I hear it. It has like the that like beat to it.
I never really watched that one. I know memes about it, but that's about it, unfortunately. I know very well. Coward, you know I can't hear you without my glasses.
Yeah. What the fuck happened? I'm like being bullied.
Should we turn it today?
Help. Oh, it's fine.
Father, help. Oh, you found a bad boy. Oh, you found the bad boy. Okay. He didn't reveal himself, but that guy's a big old wolf. Nightmare Claw.
I don't know, like, my hits are delayed or I'm just lagging.
Chain armor jiggles? Oh, it's because there's one guy. It's one of these over here.
I'm lagging really bad.
Oh, skeleton creepers, apparently, that are completely... What? Okay, to hear this sound effect, there has to be some sort of skeleton dungeon or something nearby with a bunch of skeletons. But there's nothing down here. Except your head twice in a chest.
Why is my head twice in a chest?
I don't know. I see your head twice in this chest down here. Is there a sound effect broken up here?
Yeah.
Oh wait, oh my god! I found the sound effect! Do you want to come up here and help? Do you want to come up here and help?
Holy shit!
Okay. Water bucket, get in the water.
No, that's gonna kill me!
Oh, right. You right. Dirt noob? Dirt pile? Dirt pole?
I tossed it for
I got phantoms after me. Okay. I know what I'm clipping after the stream.
Yeah, that's for sure like a short-worthy type thing.
Oh no, it's a baby! Okay, we're good.
Just one-shot one of them with my bow.
There's still a few left. Okay, get you. Why did like
Yeah,
a million of them
really far
spawn?
away. I think they were just sitting somewhere.
Oh, is it because of you? Dark Vortex. Okay, Dark Vortex dead. I'm gonna assume it was. Because there's a few more ghouls chilling over here.
Dude,
I'm gonna assume it was because of that.
I might try restarting my computer. I don't know.
Okay.
Really? If I just hit you, I'm so sorry.
Why did I get poisoned?
Oh, that's for me.
Okay, yeah. Then you did. Restart you. I got a
poison arrows in
cool
my
player head.
Oh, it's day, by the way.
That's a cool player head.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, go ahead and restart your computer if you need to.
I don't know if the setup I'm doing is gonna work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
If it's at least 15, it's enough.
Yeah, but I don't know if the blocks near it is gonna mess with it. So that's 14, 15. It might, because I just want to get this down.
Hmm.
Because I have it, and I feel like it would be nice to have.
No, I did a 7. Okay, we're gonna just... Don't mind me.
30 to 40, right?
Hmm?
Or the 40's the new 30, right?
What?
Max enchantment's now 40, not 30.
No? Where are you getting that information from?
If you open this and put in something, it goes up to 40, not 30. And this is 15 bookshelves.
I don't know then, because I did not implement that.
Can it go past 40?
I don't know what would be affecting that if it is.
Well, like, I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm just, like, curious.
No,
it can't go
I'm
past
trying to
30.
figure out, I'm like
40.
mentally going through my mind why it would be telling you 40 at all.
Okay. I'm gonna restart my computer. I'll be back.
Okay. And now we make house. And it's gonna be a struggle simply because I can't shift for any of this because I'm a phantom and it's daylight. We're gonna do this 7 wide, which will allow staircases on either side, and I can put a cute little table in the middle of this. If we're doing 7, I want this to be 9 or maybe 11 blocks long. So 3 there, 3, 3. Yeah, I feel like that's good. So here... we're gonna do this as a very... with many liberties, we'll make a Skyrim player house. Several liberties. I'm gonna switch out some of the normal stone brick down here. 3 of these to be precise. So we can get some stone... I have so many options now. We can get some stone brick stairs to be placed right there. And I am going to do... How do we want to... we're just going to do a couple stairs. We're just going to go some stairs. We're going to do that. Hopefully it won't be too noticeable. And then I am to assume... There is one good thing about being a phantom in building, though, is I can just kind of place and jump, and I don't have to worry about it being weird. So I'm going to assume... Yeah, that looks immediately way better. Yep. I'm just gonna safely assume I'm gonna need 2 axes. There we go. Yes. And then... Yum. We're gonna do... like this. And we'll move this up a block. Can I pick it up? Is it considered a block entity? No. Okay, so then I'll have Penguin... I'll have her do it when she gets back in. Brain. I want... I have a carved pumpkin. That is exactly what I wanted. Have I ever... I have charcoal. I'll do. I want to make a jack-o'-lantern for a light source. Okay, I could find a light source block. What am I doing? I'm gonna steal these. I can't crouch. And then we're gonna take some of these, make them into stone brick stair. So we can make this nice and pretty. I want to move this out a little bit more and not die in the process. Thank you. I have a bunch of extra deep slate, so we're going to use that as our placehold block. So I'm not wasting blocks in places that can't be seen. And I want to make this back room like this. And then bup. Hello there. Yeah, but. For the moment, we'll just put that right there. We could leave it like this, but I would much prefer to have a light block underneath this and then have that the same level as everything else. Let's go. I assume there's probably some light blocks down here. Even if we get like a redstone lamp, yeah. We'll steal a redstone lamp. And we go back home. Take it back. Take it back now, yo. 1 hop this time. Oop, home. It's not the greatest placement. I could probably do a lot better. Do I want to make a tinkering table, though? We're gonna scroll up. I have all the chip stuff kind of hidden away. Alt-click to expand. There we go. Redstone lamp. There are some better options. Oh, the smooth white redstone lamp. Okay, we're making a tinkering table. Now we're gonna save that recipe. So I need to get my hands on a piston TNT and a redstone torch. Back to the dungeon we go. Because I could probably get most, if not all of those in here. At the very least, we could steal this in order to acquire this. Now that I come to think of it, we might be able to get all of us near home. I saw it on the map, way over here. Oh, there's a village. Oh, hold on. Village might actually have everything we want. Hold on. They mostly nerfed it, but it still has some good stuff. Especially this version, I think. Can I... There we go. Unexpand all that. There's a reason I have them condensed. Oh, it's the other type. Well, this one doesn't have any hidden secrets, though. There is another dungeon, though, which is helpful. And it's one that wouldn't be looted. I'm gonna come back for these hay bales later. So we can have even more toast, because I am so slowly running low, and that's gonna be done way before the end of stream. I promise you that. This is a new kind of dungeon. I have not seen this type before. Huh. I feel like I've slipped through the back rooms a little bit. You know, I'm gonna trust what I was originally doing. We're gonna grab warpstone. Him. And then go out to that structure out there. The structure out there is a jungle temple. It is a spruce version of the jungle temple thanks to additional structures. And it might be somewhat looted, but I think Penguin had only stolen the loot, not necessarily the redstone. So I am to assume these are sticky pistons, but I already got the redstone dust for that. Oh, there is redstone torch. And these are probably also sticky pistons. Okay. Where would one... Where would one such acquire? I could definitely just make the piston myself. I'm now starting to think, where am I gonna acquire the TNT? I'm probably gonna need to get that myself. I'm trying to think. All this knowledge. This big brain. And I am struggling for somewhere I can loot TNT. What could possibly have TNT or piston for us? We'd have to find a desert temple type for that, I feel. We're gonna put away majority of this. I'm gonna keep this. Oh, there's Penguin. We need a desert temple.
That says be back.
Hello. I'm doing better. Search group.
For now.
Oh, it's nighttime!
You
Finally.
can't walk out of this.
What? Oh, it's a baby child behind me. Oh, is it because of the stairs that I placed? You can't.
Yeah, but it's fine. I'll fix it. I'll just move these stairs back. You know?
Let me look up just temple. Jungle temple, not that. Excuse me.
You're excused.
I want TNT, and the temple types are guaranteed TNT. Although, I'm trying to think of what nearby could possibly offer TNT.
Why do you need TNT?
Tinkering table for the redstone lamp underneath the waystone, which, if you haven't, you should recheck. I just wanted to look pretty. And I can make it look real pretty if I get a tinkering table.
You need TNT. What do you need? You need gunpowder.
Gunpowder and sand. But I'm like, I know there are things in this mod pack that could let me just get it for free, so I'm trying to think of where it is. But that might just be more work than doing it normally.
I have gunpowder.
Unless, hold on,
you have sand?
plain. I can get sand. Ooh, there is a plains village out that way, which would be good to loot anyway. 14,000, so if we go to the village south that way, Ramis, then we could get most of the way out. Ramis.
I feel like
because the villages we've been coming across they're not the better villages, and I am to assume this one's one of the better. Oh, that's death. That just took half of my health. If I was not overpowered, I would be dead. Okay, lovely. Great. That was just a ravine. The only villages we've come across so far are the Towns and Towers villages. The better villages are far superior.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm gonna...
I would like to make
why would I not?
the statement of, I think a mod that might need to be added is the, Gravestones plus Curios compat.
Which does...
Makes it so it doesn't just, whenever you die and pick up a grave, it doesn't just dump all of your, Curios items into your inventory. Where the heck did you go?
I went to the Raymir's. The village... I have a waystone at the village south west of our base. Which will let me cut, like, a fair amount off of where I needed to go.
This way. Yeah, I don't think I've been out this way.
You've been to the village, you probably just didn't pick up. Because we went to that village together. It was the first one we went to. You probably just didn't pick up the waystone.
Yeah, I probably just didn't get the waystone.
My computer's not happy about loading all this, great. It will just have to suffer. Graveyard! I should kill these sheep. I need food. I need to always be stockpiling food. If I'm not stockpiling food, I'm not doing this right.
Starve.
Yeah, I will just starve.
Let me throw my ender pearl.
It's like 3 different players trying to come after me. 4. They're all still level 0 though, at least. I really attempted to change up the config so they start leveling at 0, like within the first 1,000 blocks, because otherwise you're traveling so far to get any challenge.
I don't know.
Because it used to be really challenging early on, but that's part of what made it so fun. And now it's just kind of... meh. The issues with us and the overpowered dead aside.
Right.
See, I'm seeing a big old dead tree that looks like a structure. I'm gonna head to it, against my better judgment. What are you? What is this?
I am
hanging tree. Are you coming? Why do I hear sounds? Why do I hear boss music? What's this?
Water.
Nameless hanged struggles for breath. It's just a hanging tree. Oh, hey, that's a structure. I don't like that structure, I know that. I'm supposed to be going towards the village anyway. That structure was horrible when I was playing K4 Project, but I was also in horrid armor and not overpowered, so who knows?
What the fuck is you?
Good question.
A door
What the fuck is me?
Apparently whatever it's wearing is pretty decent.
Oh, I got a horse head. Oh no.
I got something.
I don't need to be in phantom mode. It is night.
I got a pitchfork.
There are so many pigs here. I'm just gonna... Let me... Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I've offered up this idea in the past, but it might actually be really good for this playthrough. So, all mobs will scale the farther you go out, which makes the fights far more difficult. And even the cows will get ridiculously high level. So theoretically, you could just make a giant animal farm, like 10,000 blocks out, and use that for XP.
I mean, I'm not against it. Sounds like some stupid
Although
alternatively,
I need to find out what it is. I think it's to marry these two ideas together with the least amount of work possible Explorify is is like a structure mod we have, yes? It includes my favorite structure, the black spirals. Black spirals have a chance to spawn in a hoglin spawner. So, they drop pork. And
Yummy
the
food.
nether is automatically at level 20. So,
Good.
I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, good food.
Oh, right, I was out here for a piston and TNT. That's a well.
What is this? I don't know, it's something.
Is something? Nope. There's a specific. There are so many mobs out here. Almost looks like our SMP. It's stealing this waystone because there's already one out here. Is this one of the houses? It might be one of the houses. There's a few structures you can recognize, but a lot of them have been nerfed, so I couldn't tell you if they still have the things anymore. And this one does not. I know you have it. Absolutely, you have TNT. I know for a fact you're not the right one. Okay, I know which one has TNT. I know one of them still has TNT. I just need to find the guy that has it. These two are the same. Although it does have down here iron block. How much do I know my own mod pack? Let's find out. While I'm out here, I should probably gather more hay bales. There's a bunch of cows out here. Gimme.
Yeah, I think I'll trade the double jump for that.
You don't have anything good anymore.
That's kind of mean.
These villages used to be so overpowered as the #1 reason I had them in the mod pack in the first place, and they got nerfed at some point. Like, you could get at least a little bit of diamond gear from them because they had a bunch of things hidden about. Not anymore. This is just a shadow of what it once was. Nope. Is it you? It is you. I guarantee it. Gimme. Unless you... Yes, TNT! Give me that. And hay bales.
You said full directly southwest.
Hmm?
Directly. I probably shouldn't be going to a village.
Yeah, you're going the right direction. Oh, why shouldn't you go to a village?
Because I have bad omen.
Well, do you want to do a raid? I don't think it'd help us at all, but...
No, it probably wouldn't help us, but we could.
The only thing it'd help would be XP, but it'd just be a normal raid because they're all level 0. I was just in... Was I in? I was in the right house earlier and I walked right by it. Yep, there's the TNT. Okay. I was in the right kind of house, I should say.
Arrival. That's not ominous.
Huh?
The arrival.
The arrival? Did you get like a status effect or something?
It's a book I found.
I don't know then. There we go. Piggy. Well, I got the horse too. Oh well.
No, I'm just grave robbing.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Why are people crying? Are you just have the depressed personality? No? Oh, I'm burning.
It is day.
I ran out of hunger. You know, I'll yoink it. I'll yoink some. Yoink some ferni. I think that's about all. Oh wait, hold on. I could use I can use this. This is a perfect spot for me right now. I found a bunch of campfires. When you place a crafting table when there's one right next to you.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Freaking souls will shock your soul and seal your doom tonight.
You did notice it, and I'm not, and you
No,
do know I'm
yeah.
not just singing just cause. Okay.
Where did you get? I forgot that's what the achievement is. Oh yeah, that thing would, huh? I say as if I actually recognize it from the top down.
What do you mean from the top? Oh, you're looking
Map.
at me through the map.
Yeah.
It's a graveyard.
I can't recognize which type of graveyard. Because I've seen a fair few myself from playing with Born in Chaos in the past, but... Toast! Plenty of toast.
I love it when it doesn't throw my pearl and then proceeds to bug out horribly.
Ew. I have so many
Okay,
animal
so I'm gonna
heads
sit
now.
outside the village like a weird, creepy person. Well,
Or you could come
unless you
in
wanna
and we
bring
could
me
dip and
milk.
leave the raid behind. Or you could
That's
just find
mean.
milk. Get some milk.
I don't have a bucket.
Can you craft a bucket? Or do you want me to come bring one to you?
No, that's fine. We'll just start the raid and the villagers can deal with the raid. I'm saying that
Spoken
because
like
I've
a true
already
colonist.
started the raid. Crazy. I'm being racially profiled because I'm white. That's so mean.
I'm as white as they come, so I can't say too much.
My game froze.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's good or a bad thing.
I see where you are.
A good thing. Am I moving on your screen?
You are not moving, but I see you on the map still. You've yet to leave the game. The voice chat's still working.
Yeah.
Are you just maybe caught in a block? Okay. I am to assume she has force crashed it. Well, I did a whole lot for not a whole lot. I still need to craft that piston. Thank you, Kofi. I had a whole bunch of redstone dust, okay. I should have everything for piston. We'll just, yes, there we go. And what? Logs and slabs, got it. I'm just gonna steal some slabs, hold on. I don't feel like crafting them. I've already forgotten the recipe. Okay. As if I actually remembered from that glance, but I'm gonna assume I have. Because it's gotta be here, here. I don't have the torch on me. Yep, okay, yeah, I did know it. I should have trusted myself, because I didn't know it. I didn't need to look again, because I knew it. There we go. Oh, there they go. Okay. Plenty of food. Oh, there's the raid. And she's back. It's over here. Are you ready to get out? Because they're coming from this way. Somewhere out there. I see him on the minimap.
They are out there. I see them.
Yeah. Go home. I got my tinkering table.
My game froze again. I don't think I should stay at the village.
Yeah. I don't know what would be causing it to freeze.
I don't know either.
Can you see in the crash report?
It's not like it's crashing. It's fully just freezing.
Hmm.
It's like it rendered something, and then it's just like, yeah, no. We don't want to do this.
Let me go back. Let me see. Well, you haven't actually left yet, so let me just... I'm gonna come over and pick you up and pop you in a house. Oh, right, you're not a phantom. That hurt you a little bit. Apologies. Just walked you right on through a wall. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come over here. We're gonna take this bad boy. Hi, sir. You're gonna hop in this boat. Hey, listen to me. You're gonna hop in this. Oh, I'm not allowed to pick you up. Okay. There we go. We're gonna get you in this boat. And then... Boop. There we go. And it's officially sunset, and I can survive outside. You know what's probably going to be best? I'm going to move her out of the range of the village. Oh, there she goes. Oh, okay. I am now holding nothing. It thinks I'm still holding her, but I'm not. I can't do it. I can walk, that's about it. I think I just have to wait for her to log back in. Well, while I'm waiting, I'm gonna walk over to that other place, because I don't think... I can't open my map. I can do that. It hasn't fixed the issue. It still thinks I'm holding her. Oh. It is very confused. Anyway. I wonder if it'll still recognize me holding her when she logs back in. Oh! Oh, it's really not happy about me, holding her. Hey, what's down there? I see that. What's that? What's that? What's going on there? What's that cute little room? What is this from? I don't know what that structure... Do I know that structure? Is that from one of the dungeon mods that I can't remember the name of? I think it is. I don't know what that's from. I mean, I'm already technically X-raying from this alone. Oh, can't jump. Yep, okay. There we go. Well, I guess I can't go look at that. But the night marches on. There's a boss fight you can do here with the Born in Chaos stuff, the pumpkin guy. I can't open my inventory to see the recipes and shit, but... I was about right here when she logged off, right? Somewhere around here. This seems about right. This feels about right. Something. Can I get an achievement for running over here? No. I know it takes a minute to load up, but I wish it'd be just a little bit faster. Because I'm sooner gonna die of starvation before she gets it. Running around, being in the phantom mode at all takes hunger. And then I'm also running around, so I've already burned through my saturation. So that's lovely. Also, come to think of it, my Kofi stuff, these two are just a little bit too big. It's covering a little bit of the, you know, let's do it like this. There we go. Yeah, let's go with that. And then I'm also gonna... Whoop. Apparently it does not work like that. Let me... Oop. There we go. Nice. We're gonna ignore that you can see my little nubs down there. Oh, never mind, you couldn't. It just kind of looked weird. Okay. I can't scroll to my food. I can't do a thing. Penguin, if you could log back in, that'd be great. What if I try and go pick up something else? Of course, there's nothing nearby for me to test this. Yeah, pillager's down there, but I can't pick him up anyway. Is there any mobs nearby for me? It sounds like there is, but I can't see them. Does it think I'm also logged out? What? It might also think I'm logged out. For safety's sake, I'm just gonna relog. Just for safety. Please? Please? There we go! Cool. Yeah, they're all sitting right here. I couldn't see them before. Okay. Time to actually go over to, check out that spot. I immediately tried Elytra gliding. I do not have my Elytra. I am not an Elytrian either. There's no way for me to do that. Not yet, anyhow. Disturbing the dead. Oh, this is probably from Penguin going through, huh? Let me grab all these. There she is. Oh, there's wither roses! Ooh. I'm gonna collect these. Because the Horker farm I was... now I have wither. The Horker farm I was talking about, we could do, wither roses. with the roses on top of soul soil, maybe? So, blocks can go through. I assume they would go through soul soil if they act the same as mud. If not, we could just get our hands on mud. I think we have that. I would assume. Yes. I do not want inventory highlighter, thank you. Boop. Actually, it's probably better to do it this way. There we go. Okay, where is Penguin, and do I need to get her out of there? Maybe. Did she freeze again? Oh! Sorry, made one. Okay. What's the reason why? What's down here? Unfortunate last words. Corpse fish. There's nothing there. It died one shot. Okay. Good to know. Where'd Penguin go? Did she crash and burn again? Yeah. Okay. Let's get rid of this. And let's do this ever so carefully. So we don't crash and burn ourselves again. We're just gonna go a little bit at a time. I'm gonna plop her just right in front of her. There we go. I wanna get her to... Trying to pick her up. There we go. Just right in front. Yep, there she goes. Okay, good thing I didn't go farther. I want to go see what that thing was about, too. Oh, B. I want to go see the weird dungeon thing. While being careful of the caves. Because just out here there was a thing, right? About here-ish. I should see it, no problem. Ooh, that's a person. That's a cave. That... Oh, there is water. That is a cave. Bounge. There's a player camp out there. So let's get our butts over to it. Whip. Yeah, this is definitely a dungeon of sorts right here. Mimic! What you got? Night. Actually, okay, this doesn't help me. I don't know. I tried to put you in front of the waystone, so hopefully that helped.
Yeah, I just used the waystone and it hasn't crashed. Or not crashed, but did the weird freezing thing.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just say I can't go to that village.
Yeah, I don't know what'd be crashing you, but yeah.
I
stole some of the wither roses from that graveyard, so maybe we could use that for the hoglins later, I was thinking. Use it to make a farm.
Sure.
What is in here? I guess I could get more bread. Don't really need it at this point, though. There's a lot of amethyst, yes. Good. Yeah, okay. Oh, wait, hold on. What is in here? Infestation spawner. Okay, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care about y'all. I'm just gonna go home. Goodbye. Boop. Boop. And give log. And I no longer need these in there. And I need logs and all the spruce. And crackstone. And back to just normal house building.
Yep.
I want to make it nearly that small, though. So we're just gonna pretend. Yeah, that's good. I got a lot of food out of that, though. You want any toast?
No, I should be fine on food.
Okay.
I have to just empty my backpack, so.
Actually, let me just... Ooh, nope. There we go. Ah.
Oh, stupid question. Do these blocks right here come in a slab variant?
No. They're chipped blocks. Oh, there goes my supply. Boop. My years of Bedrock Mineclick. What? Bedrock Minecraft and spam clicking have come to save me. Bedrock's Mineclick? Not the weirdest of sentences I've said. Yeah. Ooh, I can do... Have I immediately forgotten how to craft these? Yes. Ooh. That many. And make some macaw windows, perhaps? Or at window. There we go.
Okay, we have some storage now.
Oh, nice.
I do forget you can just literally pass through blocks.
Yeah, it's great. There's a reason I play as Phantom now. Here. Oh, there I go.
I'm sitting here and I look up a little bit and then I just see your legs peek through and I'm like, oh, yep, there's Meow.
I used to main Lytrian, but I think it was a challenge where I wanted to just do a random origin every time. I ended up playing Phantom and found out how much I frickin' love it. That or I was testing origins or something. I know I came across how much I loved it randomly.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it would have been that random set, because I know I started seriously playing it. Did I accidentally start playing it with, I did a challenge wherein I wanted to just kill the warden with a couple different origins and see what was best. And I had a feeling Phantom would be the best for that. I completely walked past the house. And I was damn right. Phantom is incredibly easy. And is fun and fantastic to play as.
It's probably going to be the one time I actually do organization.
Fair.
Don't actually do organization, but this isn't just going to be me storage. This is like yours as well. So.
And I'm out, and I'm almost out of food. Eat the toast. Oh, stonecutter. There.
Sorry, I moved it on you.
Keep up. Yeah. Did I do this smartly or randomly? No, I did it smartly. Okay. That's good. That's fine. Yeah. We're just gonna steal a little bit of that. And then... I'm gonna go downstairs and steal some brick. From the below portions, not the actual area we're living in.
Oh, I'm...
Yeah, boop, 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 boop. And then da 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 da. Should just do this, honestly. Yeah. Yep. Definitely some liberties taken with the house, but that's fine. It is a functional house, that is all that matters.
Yep.
Give. Whoop. Oh. There goes my axe. Give. Oh, it's nighttime! I don't have to be burning through my food.
I should specify I'm not doing much actual organizing. I'm just sorting like general types. I'm not actually making it like pretty inset chest.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Why not?
Was I? Oh, I did that already. Yeah. Ah, hi, buddy. This is our house. Out of here. Thank you. No maggots allowed. Hey, boop, boop.
Yeah.
Brain. It disappeared. And is back. Okay. Grab a...
That.
Hey, give.
Wow.
What?
It's not like I don't have 8 furnaces already.
That was one I placed upstairs, and I just moved down here after I grabbed the stuff.
Hmm.
Brain left. Bluetooth connected. Okay, we're good. I gotta actually remember what I'm trying to do here and the thought process is behind these. We got cute little windows that are gonna kind of be double windows, but not. One big old door. This should be a 2 wide, perfect. 2 wide doorway in. I should put plank here. And... yeah, I messed up here. Okay. Move all of this back 1. Oh no, I hear the bones. Where are the bones? There's the bones. Where? Oh. Nope, out of here. Howdy. Howdy 5. What are you? Oh, you're a goat. You're sheep, never mind. For some reason, it looked way more different from a distance. Boop, boop, boop. All the stuff I don't need. Oh, hi! Yeah, we're not accepting guests yet. No, out of here. Thank you. Why must you make so much noise when you are so far away out of here? No, stay dead. Stay dead. Stay dead. Thank you. And I already hear another one. Although I think it's trying to go after you and failing.
It says be underground.
Get rid of those. Put these back. Boop. I've already messed up again. This is fine. Boom. Boop. 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 Oh, lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I ain't sleeping, though. I will sleep at sunrise. It'll be middle school all over again. Scusa? Wait, did I double fuck up? Yes, I did. I keep forgetting the dimensions that I have done. Hey, up.
Okay, just don't question the system I have for the storage system, and it just works.
Just works. I will either fail to learn it or just go with it and check every chest every time.
Both work for me.
Jesus fucking Christ! I just had like a 200 speed baby zombie that appeared out of fucking nowhere.
Fun.
That miner had a major in Sonic. Sonic speed. 3, 4, 7, math, yes. Boop. Math. Occasionally, it's good. Frickin' hello. I forget that's how you sound every time. I need more log. More log. Plank, not log. Log. Or plank. I'll get it one of these times. I also need... Can I? Yes, I can. I can make stick. Make stick from... Stonecutter. And then we make window base, and then we put window base together to get window half pane base. And then how does one craft? That is how one crafts. We go boop, 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 and then we go boop, and then we have a little bit of windows. Oh, I'm burning. That's a problem. Buddy. Nope, out of here. And we don't need no creepers either. Goodbye. Thank you. I forget that it's daytime. Not those. I completely forgot what I'm doing already. Where you go? Oh, you're checking out village.
I don't think I can enter villages anymore.
I'm very curious as to how and why.
I don't know.
Did you remove you thief?
Yeah. Did I? I believe I did.
Do you want to try... Oh. Because I did send you the link for the mod too again. Is there any different? I don't know if there is any different. I don't think I added anything. There shouldn't be a reason why you are. Let me come grab you and get you out of here. And hopefully don't soft block myself along the way. Nope, I need to look where I'm going, apparently. Okay. You are away from the village now. Boo. There we go. Up. I don't know what mod would be causing that. It's a very interesting issue to have. Let me change these ones, actually, to this. What could be causing that? Let me sit myself downstairs so I'm not wasting hunger. Why is that such a case? Because I've kept a fairly... She was able to go to them last time, but not this time. What would cause that? I don't know. I forgot. I've already forgotten. And that doesn't even connect. Okay. I wish those would connect, but they do not. So what else can I do in the stead? In its stead. We have quite a few blocks at this point. I could just do normal window, but I don't want to do normal. I want to do something cool. Oh, we could do gates, maybe. Because those gates are going to be the same no matter what. I don't know what... Oh, that's carpentry table entries. Okay. Maybe do spruce curved gate? Or highway gate? Not fast enough. I think when Penguin logs back in, we're gonna call it off for the night. I just really want to check and see. Oh, that's gorgeous! But would it look good as a double is the question. I'm gonna burn for a second so I can do this. Oh! Yes, okay. Okay. So first I'm gonna take a screenshot of this to send to Misty. Plus... There we go. I'm sure she's gonna enjoy that. So we'll do those from here on. Oh, that's so good! That is gorgeous! This isn't typically, like, I love me some good building. This isn't typically a building mod pack. That is, I love that so much. That is downright adorable. Oh, there. Yep. There we go. And then I'm gonna have to figure out... I could probably use these for this. Because that's the effect I want. I can't so much with these, but I'll just do normal doors anyway. Or we'll do curtains or something. I'll figure it out. I can do a little bit of it in here, though. I can do this here. So I think that's where the rest of these are gonna go. Don't think there's really anywhere else they could be put. A boop. A boop. Do I want that like that? Yeah, we'll stick to it. We'll stick to it. It doesn't look bad. It's... We'll stick to it. I think I like it a little bit. We will see. Good thing I made several stacks of these planks. There we are. Is there a good... There's not a good way for me to place these. Not during the day, anyway. Ah! Just let me place... You suck. Hold on, I don't have to bird. I have bucket. Place, thank you. Hello.
Please don't be flooding the house.
I need to be able to place.
I don't know.
What do you think it was?
I have no idea. I just downloaded the pack off the code you sent me and then moved everything over.
I figured out a gorgeous window. Look at this.
I do need to remove that though. Oh, that's cute. I love that.
It's the macaw window and the curved gates. The curved gates apparently stack.
I love that. And that opens really nice too.
Yeah. It's so cute. I'm gonna find a way to use that in the SP
model thing.
Huh?
Because it's bugged out for me. I'm very decapitated.
Yeah, that's how it works.
No, like decapitated to the point my body's not here, it's up here.
Oh, yeah, that is a problem. I was actually gonna cut us off for the night because I want to get heading out. And we've been going for almost 2 hours. And then we can pick this up proper next time and actually go to the stronghold. I think this is a fantastic start. This looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one note, I wanted to keep like this as more of like an open concept, so like a patio type thing.
Okay, I was gonna do a patio on top because I was gonna make our rooms do you know the different like Skyrim the side types?
No.
Okay, there's 3 different types. There's the tower, the for lack of better words, I'm gonna say roof, which is just this normal room with a roof on top. And then there is one that is technically a patio. It's normal on the first floor, but the second floor, it's a backyard patio. And it will have stairs going up to it. There is going to be a second floor to this as well. I'm pretty sure I can get you a screenshot of what I'm talking about. I have a house that's set up like that.
Yeah,
on
Skyrim
it'd be
fully a matter of...
Oh, it's night! Okay, hold on. While it's still night... Well, I know it'll be night the next time I log on. I just want to place all these windows real quick, because it's annoying as hell when it's during the day. You have another one?
Wait. Yeah, we have all 4 soul stars, yeah?
Yeah, because I still have the 3.
Okay, cool.
Why?
That worked out. I have no idea where I got it from.
Maybe from just killing about? I couldn't tell you. But yeah, it is 6,000 away, so he's unfortunately gonna have to be later. I think, Stronghold, and then we can travel through the Nether for that one would be best. And I'm out of that gate. Okay. I'm just gonna finish crafting curved gates, because this is gonna... I'll just finish it real quick. It's gonna annoy me if I'm placing it the wrong way. It's gonna annoy me if I don't. So I could pretty much call this officially done. Or at least this first floor mostly done. Okay, there we go. And now we can log off. Okay. And I can figure out
what do you think of the downstairs?
That's nice. You just taking up this as your room or something? Or just temporary, bud?
Oh, well, this is just where I'm putting my bed for now.
Okay. What is getting attacked?
There's no
outside?
roof up here, and I don't want to die.
Oh, those guys. Okay.
While it's raining.
Yeah, that's fine. They're attacking each other. It's chill. We don't gotta worry about that.
I want to log off down here just because of the rain. Later.
Bye-bye. That was good. I want to end off and get to the end of my day. So let us see if there is anyone we can raid. I do not trust my Twitch extension because it usually lies to me. It was not lying to me. Is there anyone we would like to raid? Let's look at some Minecraft modded.